Welcome back to the Holistic Homes Podcast. I'm Christine, licensed general contractor and holistic home expert. And I'm here today because I want to talk about something a little bit different than my traditional rambling on about why building a healthy home is so important. Today, I want to change your perspective, or maybe you're going to end up sending this to someone, help change their perspective. But I want to open things up so that hopefully you and your team that's building or renovating your home, I want to change your perspective on why this is just so important to really take a step back and see, why are we in this mess of so many homes just having numerous issues? And I'm not just talking about mold issues. Like, how did we get here? And I think this episode will really help you and maybe others. Maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a husband. I know I could probably myself use this episode and send it to my husband, because it just seems like when we talk about building a healthy home, or even make mention of it, we get the eye rolls, or we get that's just, woo-woo, you don't need to do that. Mold is everywhere. I mean, gaslighting upon gaslighting all of the time whenever the topic of building a healthy home comes up. But I'm going to help change your perspective today on why it's not actually building a healthy home. I will sometimes make the parallel comparison to when we go to the grocery store. When we go into the grocery store now, there is an organic section and there's just the fruit and vegetable section. Why on earth do we have to have a completely isolated area labeled organic for food that's not sprayed with pesticides that could potentially, cause issues within us? Why do we have to have a completely separate section? Why can't we just have food that is naturally grown without pesticides and chemicals, just called fruits and vegetables? And the other stuff that's got carcinogenic and toxic pesticides on it, why can't it be labeled as toxic fruit and vegetables? So things are just backwards, even in the grocery store. Same thing with home building. Why do we have to call it healthy home building, or high performance home building, or passive home building? Why does it have to have this label? Why can't we just build homes right to begin with? And all of the other homes, those are toxic homes. But we're not there yet. The biggest comparison that I see to how the home building industry is being treated and managed and run, the biggest comparison is actually to our healthcare industry. And I won't go down the rabbit hole too much, but I want to share these comparisons that really emphasizes how we are in this position today with home building. So our healthcare industry, and I am not in healthcare, I'm gladly in construction. But from what I see in healthcare is we don't have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system. We pay very high insurance premiums. Doctors are not doing a lot of preventative measures, just like we should be doing preventative home building. There's not a lot of prevention. And when you go to the doctor and you have an issue, you often are suppressing symptoms, or you're given medication to be on for the rest of your life. I mean, the healthcare industry needs a major overhaul, but there's not enough prevention happening in healthcare. Very, very similarly to home building. The home building industry is not about prevention. There's nothing in the home building industry that is about preventing toxic homes. There is very little in even just building codes that addresses moisture issue, condensation issue, water intrusion around windows. Very little. And there is not an actual preventative approach to home building a robust, watertight home. And so it's almost put in this category of luxury home building, or you're going to be a difficult homeowner if you are expecting to have a watertight home, which blows my mind in that why on earth is it just considered abnormal or being difficult, or why does it have this premium cost if you are expecting a home that's not going to have building defects and water intrusion from day one? That seems like that should just be the standard way of home building. So what I mean by that is, do not leave your home build in the hands of your builder. That's going to seem really crazy, but you as a homeowner, if you are going to have different expectations than just the standard way of home building, which many of us do, you are going to have to be outspoken about what your expectations are. Back to my parallel, this is very similar to if you want change in the way that you are being treated in the healthcare industry, or the way that your children are, being taken care of. Sometimes you have to take the approach of going to a naturopath. Sometimes you have to take the approach of being preventative with supplements, or being really active. You have to take a proactive approach and not just wait until you get sick to then go see a doctor. In our homes, we should not be just waiting until there's an issue to then find out that we need a 6-figure mold remediation. That is not a preventative approach to home building. And equally, your health, there's really no price tag on your health, but the most expensive thing that you are likely investing in is your home. That is just the biggest investment: time, money, energy, where you're raising your family. That is one of the biggest investments that any of us make into our lives and into our health. So you have to take a proactive approach and be ready to take the wheel on driving those expectations. So what can we do to change? And I see this also come up in healthcare similarly. Like, how are we going to change it? There's, I don't even know. I would say probably trillions of dollars in the healthcare industry, and prescription medications, and, trying to fight, on supplement regulation. There's a lot that goes on when it comes to taking care of our health that is reactive, that is after the fact, after you are sick, after there are already issues. And in home building, why on earth do we have a mold inspection, mold remediation, construction litigation industry that is billions of dollars? That seems very backwards, and that nobody is actually talking about, why don't we take a proactive approach to home building so that we don't have to end up in any of those costly scenarios? And nobody's going to do that for you unless you are setting the expectation, which is also something to emphasize, that there's no other time in our life that we would be paying for a service, expecting one thing, but then accepting something completely different. So you are likely paying to have your home built with the expectation that there's not going to be any building defects. Windows are going to be watertight. Showers are not going to be leaking. There's not going to be, leak issues behind the walls. You are likely paying for a service, expecting one thing, and many, many homeowners are getting something that is subpar or not what they are actually paying for. But in any other scenario, that would not be accepted. A good example of that would be the lemon law. Here in California, if you have a car that has an issue and then you have to take it back to the dealership because it has that same issue, and you have to take it back and it's just riddled with issues, that car is then claimed defective. And you know what happens next is you send the car back and you get reimbursed all of the money that you have actually made payments for on that car. You are made whole, and you are not expected to keep a car that is always in the mechanic. You're having to pay, countless of dollars to get it repaired. You paid for a new car that you expected would operate and function without issue. And if that's not what you get, you send it back and you are made whole and you get your money. We need a lemon law for our homes in every state. If that was actually implemented, I think we would change a lot of builders' tunes around how they are building a home. But until something like that is taken in effect, I mean, that sounds incredibly reasonable. If you're going to pay $1 million for a home, and we see this all the time in production builds, you just Google a production builder and you will see that there are litigation issues, building defect issues. Even right now, there's a big issue in Utah with a production builder that is having foundation issues, and numerous homes in that community are actually like completely defective, uninhabitable, but yet the homeowner still is paying their mortgage on these homes. It's absurd that a homeowner should have to foot the bill and just be left high and dry in a home that is making their family sick, that might have structural issues, and numerous other things that are out there in production builds and custom builds. So we really have to take the initiative ourselves to do a lot of things that I talk about over and over and over again, is dial in the details, protect yourself with full architectural plans that lay out your expectations. Make sure that expectations are within your contract with your builder. There's so many construction contracts that have mold clauses and the builder's not responsible, and the builder warranty is only 1 year. My car warranty is longer than that. And you pay 30, 50 grand for a car, but you are probably spending $1 million plus on your home. And there's just not enough protecting you as a homeowner against having building defects. If you just write the checks, you get your $1 million build, you have no third-party quality control, you have no checks and balances that are protecting you as a homeowner. So there's a lot of parallels out there that I see people accepting as, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, our healthcare system is probably somewhat of a sick care system and it's not preventative. And I see people taking action to do preventative measures for their health. And same thing when it comes to the grocery store example. They're taking preventative measures and buying organic fruits and vegetables. And they're not going to, think that it's reasonable to purchase a car that then has to be in the mechanic even 2, 3, 4 times. They're going to send that car back and they're going to be made whole. Your home, we got to start treating it the same way. So my encouragement for you is to really take this seriously in home building. I don't care if someone is going to say this is, that you're a pain, you're difficult, you're this, that, the other thing. You are the client. You are a client paying for a service, and you better darn well be getting what you are expecting as a homeowner and not accepting anything less. So my hope is that you are encouraged to stand up for what you are expecting in your project, and don't feel like you have to know construction in order to get a healthy home. I hear that all the time in I want what I want, but I don't know how to ask for it, which I totally understand. It seems very reasonable. Like, I want what I want. I want a healthy home, but I don't know how to ask for it, which what you're asking for is a home that is not going to have building defects, that is not going to have indoor air quality issues, and not going to be riddled with like maintenance issues that you're going to have to foot the bill on. That's very reasonable. So even if you communicate that, but it's backed by actual data, checks and balances, reporting, leak testing, all of these other things that I just infuse into every project that we are either building ourselves as a GC, or if we are consulting on a project, there's no way to know that you are getting a quality product without those things. So don't settle for less. Protect your investment at the very least, even if, someone in your family thinks, healthy home building is woo-woo stuff. Even if you were to take the approach of, I just want to protect my investment. I want to protect my money. I want to protect the home that I'm being built. Healthy home standards still apply to wanting to protect your home and not have to have maintenance issues and mold remediation costs. So even if you go at it that angle, I still think it makes sense to build a watertight, healthy home that's not going to make you or your family sick, that's not also going to be riddled with costly defects. So take this as encouragement to stand up for what you want in your project, renovation, new build. If you've been in your home, for years, there's still things that you can do to take a proactive approach. But build a healthy home, get what you are paying for, and don't take anything less. So I hope this episode was helpful, a little bit more encouraging than some of our other episodes that are full of a lot of just valuable educational information. But I hope that you'll follow us on Instagram. We're Holistic Homes by Christine. If there's something that we can do to help you in your project, you can always reach out to us on our website. We would love to learn more about your project and see if it's something that we can help with. But for now, I will see you on the next episode.